Question 56. Section C, Decision Analysis, CMA Part 2. Sunshine Corporation is considering the purchase of new machine for $800,000. Okay. The machine is capable of producing 1.6 million units of product over its useful life. The manufacturer's engineering specification states that the machine-related cost of producing each unit of product should be 0.5. How he is calculated? How he has calculated, this is the cost of the machine, and this machine can calculate 1.6 units over its life, which means if you spread the cost of this machine upon the number of units it is capable to produce, you get $0.5 per unit. This is the cost that the engineering specification of the manufacturer tells you, right? We have to see our own peculiarities, our unique circumstances where we will be using this machine. We just don't take the manufacturer's numbers for granted. We have to see our own unique circumstances. We can't just accept the way it is given. Sunshine total anticipated demand over the asset's life is 1.2 million. When we won't be producing more than 1.2 million, why would we take 1.6 million as our allocation base? We can't, we shouldn't. So Sunshine total anticipated demand over the asset's useful life is 1.2 million units. The average cost of materials and labor for each unit is 0.4. In considering whether to buy the new machine, would you recommend that Sunshine use the manufacturer's engineering specification for machine related input, or do you think that you will use your own? This is given under ideal circumstances which believe whatever you produce is sold. Machine works in perfect order. There are no downtimes. It is theoretical or ideal standard, which is hard to attain. What we expect is that this is what we will be able to produce and sell. So allocating your cost based upon the estimated usage over the period or over the life of the asset gives you $800,000 divided by 1.2 million. It gives you 0.6667. So we won't use engineering specification of manufacturer. We use our own unique circumstances, our unique situation, practicality. So machine related cost of producing each unit would be 0.67. That makes B to be the correct option. Next. Arel Industries is a multi-product company that currently manufactures 30,000 units of a Part 730 each month for use in production. When you have a bigger question like this, the right approach is to just relax and read it carefully. Don't be frightened or don't get bogged down with just the verbosity of the question. You just focus on reading. Be a good reader. Read, and once you read carefully, you will know what to do, where to start from. So this is that's it. Currently manufactured these many units. This is the part they're talking about. The facility is now being used to produce Part 730 have fixed monthly overhead cost of $150,000. This is the current cost, and a theoretical capacity to produce 60,000 units. We can produce these many units under ideal circumstances. Currently we are producing just 30%, that is 50% of the ideal capacity. If Arel were to buy Part 730 from an outside supplier, the facilities would be idle and 40% of the fixed cost would continue to be incurred. If 40% of the cost would continue to be incurred, that means 60% of the fixed cost is avoidable, and whatever is avoidable is irrelevant, must be considered in your decision analysis. Okay, so there are no alternatives uses for the facility. The variable production cost of Part 730 is 11 per unit. Fixed overhead is allocated based upon the planned production level, that was 30,000 units. If Arel Industry continues to use 30,000 units of Part 730 each month, it would realize net benefit by purchasing Part 730 from an outside supplier if the supplier unit price is less than what? Apparently you might be lost in the words, but you have to stay focused. It's a make versus buy question. Let us first see what is the relevant cost when we make this product ourselves. Relevant cost means the cost that you can call as FTA, the cost that is from the future, the cost that differs between the option, and the cost that is avoidable. These are three that you can say relevant costs. So the first cost that we see is the variable cost of production. That includes direct material, direct labor, and variable overheads. So $11. This is the first cost. Then it said that the fixed cost 150, 40% would stay whether you continue this production or not. It means 60% of this would be avoidable, right? And 60% of 150,000, 60%, it's $90,000. This is the cost that is avoidable. And on per unit basis, on currently manufactured units, it's $90,000 divided by 30 units planned to be produced, $3. This is what you will save. It means your relevant cost of production includes direct material, direct labor, variable overheads, and this fixed overhead, avoidable fixed overhead, gives you the total cost of $14. Right? This is the cost that you incur in making the product. Now read the question. If Arrow Industry continues to use 30,000 units of part 730 each month, use, not produce, it would realize a net benefit by purchasing 730 from an outside supplier only if the supplier unit price is less than 14. Because this is the cost that we incur in manufacturing this unit. If anyone can offer us this item at less than 14, that will benefit. So anything less than 14, of course 12, 12.5, 13 are lower than 14, but this is the indifferent point. If we make, it's $14. If we buy, if it's 14, that's the indifferent point. Anything below 14 will make this deal attractive, and this will result in benefits because cost of buying from outside would be cheaper than cost of manufacturing. So that makes D to be the correct option. And D it is. Again, a bigger question, and you have to have the right temperament. Read carefully as if you are reading some interesting novel. This is how I have done my ACCA. ACCA final papers are typically challenging, long, very bulky books. So the way I tackled ACCA final myself was just read the books as if I'm reading a novel, enjoying and just absorbing every word, everything that is given there. So it's just need to read carefully. Good reading, attentive reading will help you absorb the text. Then you'll develop a kind of affinity with text. That is very essential in professional certification. Most of you, if you get frightened by the text, by the verbosity of the question itself, you are in trouble. So you have to build an affinity with texts, with reading. Be an avid reader. That will help you tackle questions like these. Read carefully. With a relaxed mind, your question will itself guide you what to do. So what we are required to, we have been given two options. Let's see. Verla Industries is trying to decide which of the following two options to pursue. Either option will take effect on January 1st of the next year. Option 1, acquire a new finishing machine. The cost of machine is $1 million and it will have useful life of 5 years. Okay. Net pre-tax cash from saving in labor costs will be $100,000. This machine, if we buy, it will result in $100,000 savings for 5 years. Easy, makes sense. Just read carefully, absorb every line, every word. Depreciation expense will be calculated using the straight line method for both financial and tax purposes. That is 1 million divided by 5. Okay. As an incentive to purchase, Verla will receive a trade-in allowance of $15,000 on their currently fully depreciated finishing machine. We have a current machine which we are using. It is fully depreciated, book value 0. If we give this machine to the vendor, we will be given $50,000 allowance. It means the new machine will cost us 1 million less this old machine, $950,000. This is called trade-in allowance. You're giving this machine and remaining $950,000 balance in cash. This is the first option. Buying your own finishing machine. Second option, outsource the finishing work to some third party. Verla can outsource the work to LM Incorporated at a cost of $200,000 per year for 5 years. The cost looks almost similar, 200,000 times 5, 1 million. If they outsource, Verla will scrap their currently fully depreciated finishing machine. Means in current case, if we outsource, this machine will have to be dumped. It has no revenue or no inflow related to the machine. It has to be just thrown away. Whereas effective income tax rate is 40%, the weighted average cost of capital is 10%. You will see this question in your section E, investment analysis. And there you will be comparing these two options as per your net present value, and then you will decide. But here you just need a little touch of it. When comparing the two options, the 50,000 trade-in allowance would be considered. Is it relevant or irrelevant? 50,000 is relevant in this case because it is differing. 50,000 is considered when calculating the net cost of acquisition, but it is totally ignored in second. So in these two options, 50,000 is differing. It exists in one decision, it doesn't in the other. So the question, is it relevant? Yes, it is relevant. Irrelevant because it does not affect taxes. Relevancy or irrelevancy is not determined through taxes. It is determined through FDA. Any revenue or cost that is from the future, any revenue or cost that differs between the options, any revenue and cost that is avoidable is relevant. So not taxes, wrong. Relevant because it decreases the cash outflow. The machine that you will purchase in the first option, because of this old machine, your outflow will decrease from 1 million to 950 million because the balance would be given in the form of machine. It's relevant. That makes B to be the correct option, and B it is. 50,000 trade-in allowance is relevant because your initial acquisition cost would be lowered by the trade-in value of this old fully depreciated machine. Next question. A company currently manufactures subcomponent XT9, a part in the company's main product ZL10. It's a part used in this main product. Management has found an outside supplier that could sell the company 100,000 XT9 subcomponents next year for $45. The company's production of XT9 cost per unit are shown below. Again, it's a question. Immediately you should be alerted. It's a make versus buy decision. What you do in this question, you make two columns. In one column, you write buy. In the other column, you write make and make the comparison. All right. So let us see what is the cost of manufacturing when we manufacture ourselves. Direct materials, $17. Direct labor, $16. Variable overheads, 4.5. I take them straight away because they are relevant. If you produce, you incur. If you don't, you don't incur. So they are straight away relevant costs without any further consideration. It's the issue in the fixed manufacturing overhead. Part of the fixed overhead could be relevant, the part of it could be irrelevant. Now let's read the details. If the subcomponent is purchased from outside supplier, all the variable production costs would be eliminated. Yes, we know that. And 70% of the fixed production cost would be eliminated. It means 70% of the production cost is avoidable. So it means out of the $6, 70% is avoidable, which you can write as $6 times 70%, 4.2. This is avoidable. So this is the relevant cost of manufacturing. 17 plus 16 for material plus 4.5 for variable overhead and plus 4.2 avoidable fixed cost. It gives me a total of $41.7. This is the relevant cost of manufacturing. And if you produce how many units? If you produce 100,000 units, your relevant cost of manufacturing 41.7 times 100,000 is 4.17 million. This is the cost of making. If we buy, then what's the situation? If we buy $45,000 the acquisition price multiplied by 100,000, so that gives you 4.5 million. Apparently this looks bad, but there is something extra given. It says management has found that the space used for XT9 subcomponents could be used to produce new product that would generate 300,000 in net operating income for each year. If we decide to buy XT9, the idle facility could be used to produce something else. It will result in an additional revenue or additional income of $300,000, which means your acquisition cost of 4.5 for decision making purpose, it would be reduced to 4.2 million. Now this is the cost of manufacturing if we manufacture ourselves. This is the cost, net cost if we buy. So if the company purchases XT9 from outside supplier, the operating income would decrease by how much? By the difference between these two. 4.17 less 4.2 million. It's 30,000. It means your cost right now for manufacturing 100,000 units, it's 4.17 million. If you buy, your cost will go up to 4.2 million. It means you will incur 30,000 extra, which means your operating profit will fall by $30,000. So that makes A to be the correct option, right? Use a columnar approach, lay down your information carefully. Questions are doable. Moving on. Next question. This is the next one, I think. That's we've just done. 60. Again, a bigger question, but I recommend careful reading with a relaxed frame of mind. Will put you in the right perspective. You will take things in the right way. A manufacturing company is considering a new product for upcoming year, which requires production of an electric motor. The company can purchase the motor from a reliable vendor for 21. This is the cost if we outsource, right? From a reliable vendor for $21 per unit, or manufacture it internally. Or second option, we can manufacture it internally. The company has excess capacity to manufacture 30,000 motors needed in the coming year, except for manufacturing space and special machinery. It's a very interesting question. We can buy this component from outside for $21. We need 30,000 such motors. Either we can buy them at $21 from outside, or we can manufacture them internally. Again, it's a make versus buy decision. We have to consider the cost of manufacturing versus cost of buying. And then we can decide which option should we go. Now for this, you have to read information carefully and split between make versus buy, right? So the cost of buying is given as 21. Keep it like this. Now let us see the cost for manufacturing. It says, and be very careful, there are certain twisted items. It says that the company has excess capacity to manufacture 30,000 motors needed in the coming year, except for manufacturing space. We don't have manufacturing space, and we don't have special machinery. We need to acquire space, we need to acquire machinery, and this is the cost relevant for making. What are these costs? Let's see. The machinery can be leased at 45,000 annually. You need to pay this amount on annual basis. Yes, for annual basis you have to pay this amount. This is a relevant cost. The company has finished goods warehouse space that is currently leases for $39,000. We already have a space available for which we are currently paying $39,000, which can be converted and used to manufacture the motors. If we use the same space for manufacturing, the cost is already being paid. It is irrelevant then. It's irrelevant. The company has finished goods warehouse that is currently leases for $39,000, which can be converted and used to manufacture. But if you start using this space to replace the finished goods warehouse, the additional offsite space can be leased at an annual cost of $54,000. Now this is a very interesting situation. The space that you will use costs $39,000, which you are already paying. But if you start using this space, you will have to acquire another space for your finished goods warehouse, which is a totally different thing. If you start using this space, you're already paying $39,000. This $39,000 is irrelevant. But since this has to be replaced by another facility because we use this place for storing our finished goods, we have to take another facility for finished goods, and for this, for finished goods, we have to pay $54,000. This $54,000 is not the direct cost of this item that we're considering. But because of this, we have to vacate this warehouse, and this is the cost we have to pay for the additional space needed for finished goods. This is relevant. This $54,000 has been caused by this item. So even this is not the direct cost of this item we are considering, but this cost has been increased because of our decision. It must be considered right here. Even this $54,000 rent for the space we are using, it is used to store your finished goods, not this item. But since this cost has been caused by your decision, any cost that increases because of your decision or decreases is relevant. Even it is not direct, but it is connected. So the estimated unit cost for manufacturing the motors internally, exclusive of leasing cost given above, direct material, relevant. Direct labor, relevant. Variable manufacturing cost, relevant. Allocated, where you see this word, it means ignore. Allocated means this cost will have to be paid whether you manufacture this part or not. So the cost that doesn't change, that is not avoidable, it is not relevant for us for decision making. So relevant cost of manufacturing, the variable cost of manufacturing, it's 8 plus 4 plus 3, $15, right? How many units are you talking about? 30,000 units every year. So 15 times 30,000, the total relevant manufacturing cost is 450. This is the cost of making. 450 plus 54 annual basis and 45. It's 549. What if you buy from an outsource service provider outsider? 21,000 multiplied by 30, it gives you 630. $21 per unit times 30,000 gives you $630,000. So the cost of buying is much more, and the difference between these two is $81,000. The cost of buying is 81. So what is the result now? Buy, no, it's not 69. Make, because manufacturing the motor internally would save 96, not 96, 81. This one. Make, because manufacturing the motors internally would save $81,000. So that makes D to be the correct option. D it is. Next. A company currently has 4-stage manufacturing process in the following order. First process is processing, as you can see. Second is smoothing. Third is shaping. And fourth is painting. Right. There is a market for the output of each stage. You can sell your output at processing stage for 10, or you can sell it at smoothing stage for 12, for shaping stage at 18, and for painting stage at 20. So at what point should we sell? Should we process further or should we not? It's a marginal analysis. Incremental cost versus incremental revenue. Marginal cost per unit versus marginal revenue. Decisions are made at margins. So at which of these stages should we sell so as to maximize our profit or contribution? Given the above information, the selling output after which of the following stages will yield the greatest contribution margin? Now, we have to see things very closely. If we sell at this stage, our incremental benefit is 10, cost is 8, so you can see the net benefit is plus 2. If we sell at this point, incremental balance plus, in this case 12, in this case 20, in this case extra cost is this, this and this. And net benefit and loss in the last stage. 12 is extra. Out of 10, if the price goes up to 12, extra benefit you receive is plus 2. Plus 2 minus 1, still benefit is plus 1. From 12 to 18, the benefit jumps. From 12 to 18, the benefit is plus 6. The cost is minus 5. Still you benefit from plus 1. From 18 to 20, the benefit goes up by plus 2. The cost goes up by negative 3. It's negative 1. So it means if you process, you get $2 per unit extra. If you go for smoothing stage, you still get $1 extra. At shaping stage, you still get $1 extra. But don't go for painting, because at this stage, you will lose. So you won't say select processing because here you get plus 2. No. We need to see the overall total contribution, not at a particular staged contribution. You keep on processing as long as your incremental revenue is more than incremental cost. Incremental revenue is more, go on. Incremental revenue is more, go on. So as long as the benefit is positive, you keep on moving. From this point onward, there is a loss. So you should go maximum up to shaping. This is the point that you should go. Beyond that, painting, your profit will fall. But at this point, your profit is the maximum. Your contribution is maximum. Alright, so that makes C to be the correct option. C it is. A circuit board company conducts a joint manufacturing process to produce 10,000 units of board A and 10,000 units of board B. Let us write down the data. Board A, board B, quantity 10,000 units for A, 10,000 units of B. We don't know what exactly we will be using this information for, but let's lay it down in tabulated form. The total joint variable manufacturing cost to produce these two items, 2 million. This is the joint cost we incur in producing A and B in quantity 10,000, 10,000. Right. This is the joint cost JC. The company can sell 10,000 units of board B at the split of point for $300. This is the revenue we can get by selling B at split of point. Split of point, I'm sure those who have read part 1, is the point where the joint products are split into its constituents part. Like those, I'm sure who have read section D, CMA part 1, joint costing. Crude oil, at a certain point, it splits into kerosene, gasoline, jet oil, fuel oil, asphalt, diesel. The point where a combined product or a joint product is split into its fractions, that point is called split of point. So we can sell B at split of point for $300. This board B further, we can process this further, or we can process board B further and sell all 10,000 units of B at an additional price of $375. This is after further processing, final selling price. Final selling price. Right? So the total additional cost to process B further would be $500,000. Again, decisions are made at margins. Incremental cost of this decision versus the incremental benefit. This will help us decide. What is the incremental benefit? We sell an item from 300 to 375, means $75 extra benefit. How many units are there? 10,000 units. So 10,000 units multiplied by 75 gives you $750,000. This is the benefit given in green. And what is the cost of further processing given in red? 500,000. So incremental cost is $500,000, but benefit $750,000, which means we should go for further processing because it will increase our operating profit. By how much? The difference between these two is $250,000. So what should we do if the company decides to process board B further? What effects would the decision have on operating income? It would increase by $250,000. Your profit would go up. So that makes B to be the correct option. B it is. Again, it's a question similar to the previous one. Should we sell at split off or should we process further? John's Enterprises manufactured 3 products, product A, B, C during the month of May. John's production cost and sales data are as follows. We have A, B, C. These are the units of production. This is the joint cost. Joint cost is irrelevant because it is neither from the future, it doesn't differ, and it is not avoidable. Since it is neither F nor D nor A, it's irrelevant. Joint cost is not considered in making the decision, should we process a product further or should we not? Irrelevant. Yes, further processing cost, relevant cost for B and C both. Unit sale price, A sells at split off at 3.75. No further processing, which means it is totally irrelevant in our computation because it is not to be processed further. It's the issue between B and C. B can be sold at an additional price of 8 if $60,000 is spent. So basically this is the marginal cost for B. This is the marginal cost for C. What is the marginal benefit or additional benefit or incremental benefit? For B it's 5.5 and 8's difference. 8 less 5.5, it's 2.5. For this it's 10.25 less 12.5. That is 2.25. 2.25 per unit, and for 70,000 units, the benefit turns out to be sizable. It's 157,500. And for this product B, 2.5 multiplied by 20,000, it gives you just $50,000. Now you have to decide. Marginal cost 60, incremental cost 60, incremental revenue 50. Result, don't process further, sell it at the split off because the cost of processing further is high, the benefit is less. What about C? For C, the further processing cost is 140, but the benefit is 157, so the benefit is of 17,500 extra benefit. Yes, C must be processed further. So the final answer is that process product C further because it is beneficial by 17,500, but sell product B at split off, so that makes C to be the correct option. C it is. Again, Ox Incorporated manufactured 40,000 gallons of Mononate and 60,000 gallons of Baracyl. Let us write down the relevant information. 40,000 gallons of Mononate and 60,000 gallons of Baracyl or Baras, whatever you want to pronounce this. Incurring 250,000 joint cost. Joint cost, throw it away. It's irrelevant. Already spent, gone, sunk cost. Ox allocates joint cost based on the volume. We are not here for joint cost allocation. We are here for decision analysis, for decision making. And decisions are made at margins. Marginal cost versus marginal benefits. Incremental cost versus incremental benefit. Differential cost. Right? Make versus buy. Should we continue? Should we carry on? Or discontinue, right? So, Mononate and Baracyl can each be sold at split off point in the semi-finished state at $7 and $5, or alternatively they can be processed further. If processed further, they get you extra revenue of $3. In this case, they get you extra revenue of $3, both. Now, again, the decision would be made at margin. The marginal benefit of processing Mononate further is $3 per unit. For 40,000 barrels or gallons, the benefit would be $120,000. In case of Baracyl, $3 extra. For 60,000 barrels, it's $180. And what's the marginal cost? The marginal cost is $125, written right above this. So as you can see, in case of Mononate, the marginal cost is more, benefit is less, reject. In case of Baracyl, the benefit is more, the cost is less. Yes, go for it. So, what is our decision? Without reading this para, we can say Mononate should be sold at split off, either this or this, and Baracyl must be processed further. So, the two ticks that are matching in option B, so that makes B to be the correct option. As you can see, it was B. Next. I hope we didn't miss any question. Yes. 64B. All right. Next. Question 65. We have been given three different revenue streams with related costs. Current business segment operations for Whitman, a mass retailer, are presented below. Merchandise, automotive, restaurant, and the total is given. Right? It appears that our restaurant is in trouble. Management is contemplating. Contemplating means considering carefully. Management is contemplating the discontinuance. The decisions are made at margins. Should we carry on restaurant or should we discontinue? Should we make or buy? Should we further process or should we not? That's what decision analysis is all about. So management is contemplating the discontinuance of restaurant segment since it is losing money. As you can see, $20,000 operating loss. If the segment is discontinued, 30,000 of its fixed cost will be eliminated, which means this is the avoidable fixed cost and hence it is relevant. Avoidable fixed cost is relevant. In addition, the merchandise and automotive sales will decrease by 5% from their current levels. Okay. What will be the Whitman's total contribution margin if the restaurant segment is discontinued? When you say contribution margin, it totally ignores fixed cost, whether they are avoidable or whether they are not. Our decision will be made entirely upon sales and variable costs. Right? Now let's see what is the situation. If we discontinue restaurant business, we will lose $100,000 sales and $70,000 variable cost. What will be the total contribution margin if restaurant segment is discontinued? He didn't say what is the change in contribution. Please read the information, the requirement very carefully. What will be Whitman's total contribution margin if restaurant segment is discontinued? As if it never existed. He didn't ask you to calculate the change in contribution. Only what would be the contribution when there is no restaurant. Now, when there is no restaurant, it said that merchandise and automotive sales would decrease by 5%. If merchandise current sale is $500,000, 5% of 500,000 means 25. Its new sales volume would be $475,000. Automotive current sales level is $400,000. 5% of $400,000 is 20. 400 less 20, it's 380. Right? Please don't forget, sales and variable costs, they move in same proportion unless information is given to the contrary. Please remember, sales and contribution, they change proportionally. If sales have fallen by 5%, your variable cost will also fall by 5%, right? So variable cost, 300,000 5% is 15, 300 less 15 is 285. This is the new variable cost. I will give you a shortcut also. Variable cost 200,000, 5% of 200,000 is 10, 200 less 10, that's 190. So the new contribution, 475 less 285, that's 190. And 380 less 190, interesting, that's again 190. So that gives you 380. This is the new contribution. There is a shortcut also, and if you're smart enough, you can do it yourself simply. The existing contribution is 500 less 300, 200. Existing contribution of automotive is 400 less 200, 200, right? You can simply decrease your contributions by 5% because sales and variable costs, they fall with the same proportion. So 200 and 200, these are the contributions, and both of them will fall by 5%. This will fall by 5%. So after reducing this by 5%, the net number you get is 190. 190. And it will give you the result straight in a single go, 380. D. D it is. Next, we have three products, T1, T2, T3, and T3 looks in trouble. Let's see. A company manufactures three products, T1, T2, T3. Their financial information is shown below. Sales for all these given, variable cost is given, avoidable fixed cost is given, that is relevant, unavoidable is given, that is very good. The data is given in quite a helpful way. Management is concerned about the financial performance of T3, which is in trouble apparently. If the company drops T3, the operating income will increase or decrease, and by what amount? Again, should we continue or should we not? For that, you need to make a column. Decisions are made at margins, benefit versus cost. If we discontinue T3, we will lose this revenue, and losing this revenue would serve as a cost. Of course, loss of revenue is cost, but loss of cost is benefit. If you close T3, you will save this $15,000. This is your saving. Cost saving is benefit, right? This avoidable cost, if T3 is closed, it will be avoided, benefit for you. So the benefit of closure is 21 and the cost of closure is 24. So the difference between these is 3,000. It means if you discontinue T3, the net impact of this decision is that your cost will go up by 3,000, which means your profits will fall by 3,000. Your profit would decrease by 3,000. Right? So this is the way. Analyze each number carefully. See it from the perspective whether it is beneficial or it's harmful for the decision or it is a disadvantage. Simply put it this way, you will always get the right answer. B. 3,000. Next question, question number 67. What happened? A company has the following financial information for its divisions. Sales is given. I think I missed a question. Just a minute. Okay, question number 67. A company sells two products that are manufactured in the same production department on two different machines. The contribution margin per unit of two product is $120 and $80. Let us write this down. Two products, product A, product B, $120 and $80. These are the two contribution margins. Unit contribution margin. Okay. When deciding if the second product should be discontinued, which of the following pieces of information is needed to make the correct decision? Two items A and B, they are generating this much unit contribution. We want to discontinue either of these two. So which of the following information is relevant? Commission paid on the second product sale. Whether A or B, sales commission doesn't determine that should we carry on this product or not. The relevant cost is the cost that is FTA. The cost that is related to the future, the cost that differs, and the cost that is avoidable. Right? So commission paid is on the sale that can be obtained both on A and B. That is not that differs from one alternative to another. Depreciation expense is unavoidable. Depreciation expense is unavoidable. You have to incur the cost whether you continue the production or not. Production department's manager salary, again, it's a cost that is not avoidable. The cost that is not avoidable. Alternative use of second product space. Yes. If you discontinue B, what is the alternative for B? Discontinuing B would result in certain benefits versus cost. Those benefits and cost that are relevant, that are future related, that differs between these options, that are considered. So alternative use of second product space is the point that must be considered before deciding that should we continue B or should we not. So that makes A to be the correct options. A different product may generate more profit. So should we discontinue B or not? You need to compare it what we sacrifice and what we get in extra in discontinuing B. It's a very simple question, a one-step question. Which of the following options reflect the current contribution margin ratios for each of the company's business segments? Contribution margin ratio, it is simply the difference between variable cost percentage. Variable cost percentage for alcohol, it's 280 by 270. 280 is the variable cost, sales is 700, so it's 40%. If variable cost is 40%, that means the contribution margin ratio is 60%, because the sum of variable cost and contribution margin is always 100. Next, 150 by 430, that gives you 35% approximately. So if 35% is the variable cost percentage, that means 65% would be the contribution margin. Lastly, 170 by 270, that's about 63%. If 63% is your variable cost percentage, that means your contribution margin is 27. Again, the same thing in the last, we don't need last one. So we have 60, 65, and 27. What happened? This is 37. 100 less 60 is 37. So that makes A to be the correct option, and A it is. Next, again, a bigger question. Careful reading is needed before you decide upon the computations and the right way to tackle the questions. Careful reading. Ignoring income tax is the cost relevant to the decision to produce or not to produce the new product. Relevant cost, again. Relevant cost is FDA, future related, the cost that differs, and the cost that is avoidable. All right, here we go. Capital company has decided to discontinue a product produced on a machine purchased 4 years ago at a cost of $70,000. The cost that you have paid in acquiring this machine is a sunk cost. The cost has already been paid. Original cost of the machine is irrelevant. It's an irrelevant cost. The machine has a current book value of $30,000. Current book value is also irrelevant. Yes, what can it be disposed for? its current disposal value, yes, that will be relevant. Book cost, book value, original historical cost, they are all irrelevant. Gone, history, past, not the future. Due to technologically improved machinery now available in the marketplace, the existing machine has no current salvage value, zero, no opportunity cost. So none of these numbers are relevant for our decision making. The company is reviewing the various aspects involved in the production of a new product. The engineering staff advised that the existing machine can be used to produce the new product, but there is no relevant cost. There is no relevant cost of machine because it has no opportunity cost. There's nothing being sacrificed, so there's nothing relevant related to machine. Other costs involved in the production of new product will be material and the labor. Material and labor, these are the only two relevant costs, so that makes A. Yes, A is the right answer, and A it is. Next. What is needed? On the basis of this information, which of the following alternatives should be recommended to Reynolds management? Apparently, this item is making a loss. So should we continue or should we not? Reynolds Incorporated manufactures several different products, including premium lawn fertilizers and weed killers that is popular in hot, dry climates. Reynolds is currently operating at less than full capacity because of market saturation for lawn fertilizers. Sales and cost data for 40 pounds bag of Reynolds lawn fertilizer is as follows. Selling price, right. Labor and materials, variable. Overhead allocated. Wherever you see this word, that is an indication that this is the cost that has been allocated. It is not avoidable. Hence, it is not avoidable. It's irrelevant. Right? So the only cost and revenue that must be considered are these. So decisions are made at margins. You compare the benefit on one side with the cost. Benefit of this item is 18.5. The cost of this item, the relevant cost, 12.25 plus 3.75, that gives you $16. See, the cost is less, benefit is more, so you should continue. This item is generating $2.5 of contribution for every 40 pounds bag. So what is the right choice out of these given? Select a different cost driver to allocate its overhead. Cost overhead allocation is not an issue. We are making a decision. Cost allocation is not a decision. Cost allocation, cost stays the same. The allocation base can be different. So allocation has nothing to do with our decision. Should we carry on with this product or should we discontinue? Drop this product line? No, it is generating a positive contribution. As long as a product is generating a positive contribution, you should continue producing it. So the correct option is C, continue to produce and market this product. So that makes C to be the correct option. And C it is.